My stepkids told me to stay out of family decisions because I'm not blood, so I canceled the trip I paid for and left them home with their real dad. Hello everyone, welcome to Reddit Visuals. You know, I used to believe that love was enough, that if you gave and gave, eventually people would see your heart. Turns out some people only see blood, and if you're not part of their DNA, you might as well be a stranger. I'm Daniel. I'm 42, married for 7 years, and up until recently, I thought I had built something close to a real family. My wife, Jen, has 2 kids from her previous marriage. Max, who's 16, and Zoe, 14. I don't have any biological kids of my own, but from the minute I moved in, I took the stepfather role seriously. I didn't want to be the cool adult friend. I wanted to be present, supportive, responsible, maybe even respected. Funny how all of that crumbled in a single conversation over breakfast. But let me back up. When I met Jen, she was freshly divorced, and I was just getting my footing again after my mom passed away. We met through a friend of a friend, one of those setups you almost skip out on but don't, and then end up grateful you went. She was warm, sharp, and just exhausted in a way that felt familiar to me. Like life had already taken a lot from her, but she still had this spark. I fell for her fast. We got serious in under a year. Her kids were fine at first, polite, distant. Max was moody in the way teenage boys are, and Zoe clung to her mom like a barnacle anytime I was in the room. I didn't push it. I figured time would help. I offered rides to soccer practice, fixed broken bike chains, installed a smart TV in Max's room, helped Zoe with school projects. I made myself useful. But here's the thing no one tells you about blended families. Love doesn't always translate, especially not when someone else has a head start and a biological tie. Their dad, Tom, was never really gone. He was just unreliable, the kind of guy who says he'll show up for the parent-teacher meeting, then forgets, promises Christmas presents that arrive in March, tells Max he'll take him camping, then cancels last minute because something came up. But even with all that, he was still Dad, and I was just Dan. Still, I kept trying. Over the years, we settled into something like a rhythm. They'd roll their eyes at my corny jokes. Jen and I would tag team chores and school drop-offs. And while no one said, "I love you," I felt like we were building trust, that maybe one day they'd look back and realize I was the one who never left, the one who always showed up. Then came the trip. Every summer, I try to do something special for the family. One year, it was a cabin upstate. Another year, Disneyland. This year, I booked a beach house in Outer Banks, big place, 5 bedrooms, ocean view, paddleboards, the works. I dropped close to $7,000 on it between the house, gear rentals, and a stocked pantry. It was supposed to be our last family trip before Max's senior year. I even arranged time off with difficulty because we were wrapping up a major project at work. The week before the trip, Jen and I sat down to talk logistics. Who's packing what? How early we want to leave? That kind of thing. I mentioned that I'd talked to Zoe about doing a sunset photo shoot on the beach, and maybe we could cook a seafood boil together like we did last year. Jen looked hesitant. She said, "I think we need to talk before you get too deep into planning." I braced. That sentence always means trouble. She took a breath and said, "Max and Zoe want Tom to come." I blinked. "Come where?" "To the beach house," she said, "just for a couple of days." I laughed. Not because it was funny, because I thought it was a joke. "You want your ex-husband to stay in the house I booked? With me? The guy who hasn't paid child support in months and forgot Zoe's birthday?" She didn't answer, just kind of shrugged. "It's complicated. They said they miss him, and he's family." Family? That word hit me like a freight train. I swallowed hard and said, "What am I then?" She looked at me, this woman I had shared a home with for 7 years, and said, "You're their stepfather, Dan. You know it's not the same." And just like that, the floor dropped out from under me. Later that night, I tried talking to Max directly. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe it made me look desperate. But I needed to understand. He was in the kitchen microwaving pizza. I asked him if he really wanted his dad there, if he was okay making things that awkward. He didn't even look at me, just said, "It's a family trip. You're not blood. This isn't really your decision." Not blood. Those 2 words burned. I didn't yell. I didn't slam any doors. I just nodded and walked away. The next morning, I made a few calls. First, I called the beach house company, asked about the cancellation policy. Turns out, if I moved the dates just slightly and kept the same week, I could switch to a 2-bedroom instead of 5 and still keep the reservation. So I did. Then I called my cousin Nate. He's going through a rough divorce, and I knew he could use a break. Asked if he was free for a week of beers, beach, and bad dad jokes. He said hell yes. Then I wrote a note. No drama, just facts. Since I'm not blood and this isn't really my decision, I've changed the trip plans. You're welcome to organize something with Tom if he's available. I'll be out of town. Take care. I left it on the fridge and packed a duffel. Jen didn't text me until 2 days later. A short, "We need to talk." I didn't reply. She called that night. I ignored it. I was walking barefoot in the sand, sipping a cold beer with Nate, watching the sun melt into the water. She left a voicemail. "The kids are really upset you blindsided them. We could have found a compromise." I thought about that word, compromise, what it actually means, because every year I compromised. I ate dry turkey because Tom showed up late to Thanksgiving. I smiled through Max's birthdays where I wasn't invited to the dinner because it might be weird with both dads. I stepped aside 100 times. But now when I finally drew a line, that was blindsiding. The next day Zoe texted me, just 3 words. "You really left?" I didn't respond right away. I stared at the screen for maybe half an hour. Then I typed, "I was never really invited." No reply. A week later, I got home. The house was quiet. Jen and I sat down, and for the first time, she looked unsure of what to say. She asked if I was leaving her. I said, "I'm not sure, but I'm done pretending." We talked for hours. She cried. I didn't. I was too tired. She said she didn't realize how much I had felt like an outsider all this time. I said, "That's the problem. You didn't realize." I told her I loved her. I loved the kids. But I wasn't going to spend the rest of my life being the backup adult, the walking wallet, the guy who paid for everything but never got a seat at the table. She asked if I could give her time. I said yes, but I wouldn't stay frozen in place waiting for everyone else to decide if I mattered. That was 3 months ago. She's trying now. She's been going to therapy. She asked me to come to one of Max's football games. I went, sat quietly. He nodded at me from the field. That was it. No conversation, but maybe a crack in the wall. Zoe wrote me a note, left it on my desk. "I'm sorry for what I said. I didn't mean it. I was angry and confused. You've done more for us than anyone. I just didn't realize it until you were gone." It didn't undo the hurt, but it was a start. I'm still with Jen. But things are different now. I don't assume my presence is a given. I don't overextend to prove I belong. If they want me in their lives, they'll show it. And if they don't, I'll be okay. Because here's what I've learned. Being family isn't about blood. It's about effort, loyalty, consistency, showing up when it's hard. And if people can't see that, maybe you're better off letting them figure it out without you. So, was I the a-hole? Let me know in the comments what you would have done in my place. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to help the channel grow. More wild family drama is on the way.